Coaches, are you ready to revolutionize your game preparation? For the past 5 seasons, coaches across the nation have been using the ultimate scout team game changer, the Coachpad. Imagine this: no more scrambling on weekends to prep scout cards, no more fumbling with paper and binders. Whether you're drawing your cards digitally with a computer program or sketching them by hand, the Coachpad is your all in one solution. Picture yourself on the practice field effortlessly managing your scout team or standing on the sidelines during game day, syncing adjustments from the press box to your coaches on the sideline and back. With the coach pad, you can clearly see your scout cards even in the brightest sunlight. No more squinting or dealing with the wind blowing clear vinyl sleeves everywhere. This offseason, take your coaching to the next level. Get your coach pad today at thecoachpad.com and gear up for a winning season ahead.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that lovely jazz. Check out our sponsor, Coachpad. Comment, all that great stuff. Today we have a great friend of the channel, a great personal friend, Coach Rudolph, the offensive line coach. And there's probably 18 other titles in there as well. Doey Coach Albin. But the offensive line coach there at Charlotte. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. It was good to chat with you for a little bit before we get
Heck
started.
yeah.
I mean, again, obviously we text here and there as we go too, but um, been a while since I've seen you, and
I know I didn't get invited to do any clinics or anything this off season. I don't know why. I was a little bit hurt by that we had a little streak there where we did a
yeah.
I was able to come help you do a clinic every year. I didn't get that invitation, so the last one I did must have been terrible.
Well, I was trying to get you to come out, and then you decided to switch schools on me. So
Oh, is that what it was?
yeah, so
Okay. I'm sorry.
it's not like I mean I mean obviously we ended up getting Smitty, but again, like I mean again, we can work on that for next year and figuring that out, or me just coming down there and enjoying the nice warm weather
Let's
of North
do.
Carolina
We
because
can do that too. That's good too.
the again I got my first North Carolina experience a couple weeks ago, so um again beautiful state, good food, so that was it's always a plus for us offensive linemen is the food, so
No doubt. No doubt. You can get some good barbecue here, which
yes.
I was fired up about.
Well, that I mean that's because you're from the actual South,
Yeah, no doubt.
and being
It's a
up.
little different too because there's more it's a vinegar based barbecue sauce and which is different to me, but it's really good. I've really enjoyed it.
I'm about to say you're from like the mecca of barbecue down there in the Louisiana area, and it's a
I've been
little
a part of a few barbecues in my
yeah.
day.
Yeah. You can't hate all the good barbecue. So,
Definitely not.
but yeah, like so again, and we probably could talk about barbecue bases for the next hour if we wanted to. But I mean, obviously you've had a school change since you and a good portion of the Ohio University staff went down to Charlotte, took new roles. At Before we get to kind of what we're going to talk about, how has the transition been down to Charlotte? How is the move and everything, and getting acquainted down there going for you?
Well, a couple things. One, you leave a place as great of a place as Ohio University. I mean, being there 6 years and what they were to me and my family, and still are. My daughter still lives in Ohio because she graduated from OU, and but the people at OU were just great in helping the transition. Maybe that's because they want to get rid of me. I don't know, but they were wonderful. And then the people here in Charlotte, at UNC Charlotte specifically, and our athletic director, Mike Hill, and his staff were just absolutely amazing. And so that made it really, really super easy. And then when you work for a guy like Tim Albin, who is a rock star and is one of the best human beings alive, he is going to be and always has been family first. So, anything that we needed to do is to get our family moved down and to make that process easy as he possibly could. He does. So, we had a couple things kind of all in play, and it made it really, really easy. We actually moved a little different this time than we have. A lot of times there's a little bit of a lag in when you get your family down, but this time Nicole and I found a place here pretty much right away, and we hit the ground running in January with the transfer portal and transfer portal recruiting. That window that now we have during the uh, those early couple days before the convention. So we did it. We hit the ground running there, and then we started trying to get out into high schools. Well, Nicole was here trying to find a house. We found a house pretty much right away. And to be honest with you, we finished on the road on Friday. I had an official visit on that last weekend of January with an O lineman, and I went to the airport and flew back to Athens, got everything loaded up and packed up, and then we headed down, and we actually moved in the first part of February. So we've been here and been settled, and it's been really nice. First time we did that, and I'll try to do that from here on as much as we can if we can find a place to move into. But I appreciate you asking. And when you work with unbelievable people, and both where you were and where you're moving to, that made it really, really simple and really easy.
Well, yeah, and like I said, that's especially for college coaches. I mean, that can be a difficult. Those are always easy moves. Like you might be stuck without your spouse for a couple months
Hmm.
and kids and all that. And uh,
Yeah.
I have a buddy who's at an AI school who kind of second move in about a year and a half, and kind of first time same thing, about 6 months in between the official moves, and it's not ideal. Um,
When we moved to Ohio from Arkansas State, I actually stayed in the office for the first 9 months. My daughter was going into her senior year of high school, and my oldest, and we did not want to move her. Just we prayed about it a lot, and we didn't feel like that was the right thing to do to move her out of her high school. She was going to graduate at mid-year, so I moved up to Athens in February of 2019, and then we moved the family up after the Potato Bowl, after the Idaho Potato Bowl, um, in January of 2020, right before COVID hit. So I was there basically, I say 9 months, heck, it may have been 10 months before we got moved to Athens. So every one of those situations seems different, you know. You're away from your family sometimes. It happens pretty quick sometimes. So we were thankful and blessed that this one happened pretty quick.
Good. And before we get one more thing before we get to your kind of little mini presentation today is how's the O line at Charlotte coming? Like I said, I know obviously the transfer portal and recruiting's been and regular recruiting has been busy, and then you got a kind of modified spring just because of when everybody got there and situated and figuring out how's all that coming along.
Going good. The NCAA has allowed us to do a little bit more during the summer than we used to be able to do. So, um, and I think there's possibly some thought process should be talked about using your days whenever you want to use your days. Maybe, doing spring or pushing spring into the summer if you wanted to do that. And, because ultimately we want the game to be great. And right now, I think one of the pieces that we're missing in the portal is there's some development pieces that are we're losing out on young men's development. So we're not developing the game the way we need to develop the game. But maybe there could be some things that could help in that. But in particular, our offensive line, we've got a lot of new faces. There were some through the transition from the previous staff to this staff, there was some guys that moved on and found other things, which good for them. And we had to replace quite a few guys. But I think we did that. I think we've got our feet grounded, and we've had a really, really good summer. Had a good spring, and then had to bring in a few more guys, in June. And we've had a good summer up to this point and got our feet grounded a little bit. It'll be interesting, um, some competitions during fall camp, but I think we're in a good spot and a good place with that group. And then the high school recruiting has been great. Charlotte's an easy place to recruit to. You just think about from first, we've already talked about the weather, but the city of Charlotte is a an exploding place. One of the things that we always kind of dealt with at Ohio is you fly a young man in. One, it was tough to get connecting direct flights. Excuse me, you had to always connect into Columbus a lot of times from a lot of places. Where Charlotte, there's a ton of direct flights from all over the country, so that makes it super easy to recruit. Then we live, the campus is 20 minutes from the airport, where, we were probably an hour and 20 minutes from the airport. So you fly a kid in to Charlotte, and bam, you got him on campus in 30 minutes from when he touches down, basically. And that makes it real easy. So guys traveling in and out of here are real easy. And it seems to be, there's tons of connections to the city of Charlotte. Just, my auntie lives in Charlotte. My grandmother lives in Charlotte. There's a connection somehow, some way. So you can kind of lean into that, which has been really, really good. So, um, we're excited. Just ultimately the way Coach Albin's going to do it, though, we're going to recruit character and we're going to recruit toughness first. Those are the first two boxes checked. That comes from Frank Solich. And I know you're an Ohio alumnus, and there's definitely an Ohio feel to this football program, and we're not doing it exactly the same way, but Coach Albin, was brought up by Frank Solich and the Nebraska football program, and those great coaches that were there. And you see some of the same things. So it's always going to be done with toughness and character, and that's what we're in the process of building.
Correct. And you mentioned like my aunt lives in Charlotte or so lives in Charlotte. I mean, you forget North Carolina is just the adopted capital of any Midwest um, vacation destination. Like, I don't know how many kids over, especially the past like 6 years, where are you going on vacation this summer? Like when a kid says they're going on vacation, it's like, oh, Hilton Head, North Carolina, somewhere like or various Wilmington. That like it's just
Yeah.
oh yeah, everybody just goes to North Carolina. So yeah, everybody
It really is crazy,
yeah
and you can lean into that, in recruiting, which has been great.
yeah. I mean, they're all familiar. The Midwest schools are all familiar with it already,
Yeah.
and again, if they got like ants or whatever, they all have a place to stay and come watch the game, and
Yeah.
it makes should make recruiting easier in theory.
It
So.
it does, and there was great football in Ohio. There's really, really great football in North Carolina, South Carolina, and you think Atlanta, you can be to the north side of Atlanta, you can be to Buford, in 3.5 hours. So you draw a 3.5 hour circle around us, and man, you're in a lot of great football. I mean, you're up to DC, so you're into those schools like DeMatha and that area up there. You're down to Atlanta and everything within that 3.5 hour radius of campus. So there's a lot of really good football players close, and then the connections from out and around us have been really easy to recruit to, and we're really excited about.
Well, as Coach shares a screen here, one thing I wanted to bug Coach about is because Coach has been there 6 years, but he's completely restarting at Charlotte, and one of the things I've always find interesting is like opening meetings or introductory meetings or how we start. um, those conversations with a whole new room. Because kind of like I told Coach, um, like you have a group of kids outside maybe the freshmen or any transfers. Whole room knows how you want stuff done, why you want stuff done, the way you want stuff done, all that jazz. And um, I think that's when you get a whole new room. I think that's an interesting conversation and how people approach it. So Coach is going to kind of talk about how he starts day one with his kids. So Coach, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Kind of just off of that, we were at Ohio for 6 years, and I may tear up a little bit when I tell this story, but um, we had a center there that by name of Parker Titsworth, and this kind of goes into what you're saying. When I got there, basically Parker walked in the door with me um, 6 years ago as a true freshman. He had a COVID year and a redshirt year. That's what gave him 6 years. And when we finished the bowl game, he and I got on an elevator get together and walked out of Peden Stadium together and got into our separate vehicles and left the stadium together. So we basically walked in the door together and left the room together. And um, I tell people all the time, what was amazing is, there was so many guys in that room that had been with us the entire time that, um, it's not that you get lazy as a coach. It's just that certain things that actually just carry over from year to year, and those guys actually teach the younger guys as they come in, or the new guys as they come in. They kind of teach them the ropes, and they kind of teach them how things are supposed to be, and they were teaching them things that honestly I wasn't even having to think about anymore, and it had been years since I had to think about. So I've been a little bit, uh, I guess, invigorated in that I'm having to go back and rethink through a lot of the processes and a lot of the things that we do, because yeah, you have your base introductory meeting, but you kind of move through those things pretty quick because that room is already set. The culture in that room is already set, and the way things are done are in that room already set. And that room was really, really healthy. We had a lot of success. I think we helped have that success from that room. So. You are right. Walking into a new room where not one person in that room when I walked in had I had a relationship with. There was not a culture, our culture, that was in that building or in that O-line meeting room. So walking in and having a first meeting was completely different this year with them than it had been for the previous 6 years. The previous 5 years at Ohio. And so, really, what I was going to do today is just kind of walk through literally the slides and the video from the first meeting that I had in January when I walked into the meeting room at Charlotte, and kind of what we want to do is set kind of what the culture is going to be in that room, and at least paint a picture for young men to kind of see what we're going to aim toward for the culture in that room to be. Then kind of I like to organize and set an expectation, so lay out what the next couple days, couple weeks, couple months are going to look like for them, so they're not surprised by anything. In that first meeting, I try to open a window for them to see into me, into my soul a little bit, so they can get to know me on a deeper level than just what my bio says or whatever. So, there's a piece of that opening meeting where I try to, let them see who I am a little bit. I'll go through that, and then I want to define how we will get to who we are and how we're going to get to that culture that we talk about that we're going to try to have in that room. And then the last thing that I like to do in that introductory meeting is just set kind of the rules and the expectations that we're going to work under as an O-line group. And then the meeting expectations, anytime that we meet, the expectations that we have for meetings, because the first thing you begin to have is you begin to have meetings with them. So you set that expectation, i.e., hey, anytime you come to a meeting, make sure you got pen and paper, and so you go over those base things from the get-go. So the first thing we do is we try to start saying, hey, this is who we're going to be and who we are, what we call ourselves. We call ourselves the Rock. And you can see that from the get-go. We believe philosophically as a football program that in order to win football games, you've got to be tough. There's got to be a toughness aspect to your football program. And we believe that you have to be able to run the football and you have to be able to stop the run. And probably most importantly, to win football games and win championships, you got to be able to stop the run. I think you can have success offensively and you can win football games. But if you, without maybe or maybe not being able to run the football, but if you can't stop the run, you can't win football games. I am a firm believer. And I believe that in order to run the football, as well as stop the run, your football team has to have a physicality and has to have a toughness about it, or you won't be able to do either one of those. And so the first meeting, we talk about that we are the foundation that this football program moving forward is going to be built upon. Because I've never been a part of a physical football team that did not have a physical, tough offensive line group. And Coach Solich, Coach Alvin have always oversigned up front on the offensive line and the defensive line because we believe to be a physical football team, you've got to practice physically. And if you are short in numbers, offensive line wise or defensive line wise, you can't practice physically. And if you can't practice physically, you're not going to be physical on Friday nights or Saturdays or Sundays whenever you play the game. So we believe philosophically that the O-line room is the foundation of our football program because they set the toughness of our football program. And just going, biblically, in Matthew 7, Jesus talks about building the house on the rock. We want to build our house on a firm foundation, not on sand. So we call ourselves the Rock because we want to build the foundation of our football program on a rock. And so the offensive line group calls themselves the Rock. And I explained that to them the first night. The second thing you see in this graphic here is you see three gorillas. And I want us to work with a third gorilla mentality. And kind of I'll explain that real quick. And when I talk about working, I'm not talking about just football. I want them to work the way that I'm going to explain to in just a second. That's how I want them to attack the classroom. That's how I want them to attack tutoring sessions. That's how I want them to attack athletic training sessions. That's how I want them to attack body recovery days. That's how I want them to attack in the weight room. Of course, that's how I want them to attack on the field. But everything that touches their life, we talk about doing it with the third gorilla mentality. And kind of back to a biblical thought process is, when God flooded this earth, Noah built an ark. And on that ark, there were two of each species that got on the ark, a male and a female of each species. And I love gorillas. I think they're one of the most fascinating animals. When I was growing up, Tarzan was a big thing. So the silverback apes were huge to me. I loved them. I thought they were so powerful, so strong, so ferocious when they needed to be, but so protecting, so caring. I think they are what O linemen are supposed to be, to me. So that's the reason we use gorillas. But when we talk about third gorilla mentality, um, that third gorilla right down here, my circle didn't work real well, but that third gorilla right down there, we want to work like we're that third gorilla, and we're trying to get on Noah's Ark. I will bite, scratch, claw, fight, do whatever I've got to do not to be third, because that third one, he ain't getting on the ark. The second one may be the same sex that I am. So getting into second doesn't do me any good potentially. I've got to get from third to first, and I will do whatever it takes to get from third to first to ensure that I'm going to get on that arc, or that I'm going to get a starting spot, or that I'm going to get the grades that I need to get in order to be eligible slash graduate, blah, 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 blah. So we want to work with a third gorilla mentality. We want to work like we are biting, scratching, clawing to get to number one, because number one is the only spot that we're after. And I want to set that the first night that we walk into a room. So we always talk about being the rock. That's who we are. And then we talk about working with a third gorilla mentality, that we'll do whatever it takes to get done whatever we need to get done to be in first place. So that's kind of the way I opened the meeting, and I just kind of explained it maybe more than I would with them. I may scream and holler a little bit more with them than I did right there, but that's kind of how we open that first meeting. Then what I like to do is I like to welcome everyone. I like to have everybody get up and give a brief introduction of themselves. And then I like to go through the schedule of the first couple weeks, not only what they're going to be and their expectations are going to be, but also what mine are. That way they see that, hey, the third, the fourth, and the fifth week of January, I'm going to be out on the road recruiting. So if they need me, they're going to get me by phone. And I want to explain that to them. That way they know and understand that. So that's kind of the next thing that we hit, just a schedule of what the next couple weeks and the next couple months look like. And then I want to kind of open a window to who I am. And the first thing I do is, I explain that I'm a Christian. I have coached a professed atheist before, so I don't walk in and hit them in the head with a Bible. I do believe that there is separation of church and state, but I also want them to know who I am and be very honest and upfront about who I am. So I do explain that. I talk to them. I want them to know about my family. I want them to know about my wife, my daughters. I want them to know about my dad. My dad coached high school football and high school baseball for 45 years in the state of Mississippi. He's one of the most phenomenal coaches that I've ever been around. And to be honest with you, the game of football has passed him a long, long time ago. But I learned what it was to be loyal, and I learned what it was to how to treat people from my dad. I learned truly more about coaching from my dad than I have anybody else in my career. I would also say that Tim Alvin and Coach Solich are very close. That's why I think this has been the perfect, because how we treat people, okay, and the loyalty that we work with, that Coach Solich and then Coach Alvin work with, is right in step with what I learned from my dad. But I wanted them to know about my dad. I want them to know about my grandfather, who I think is the hardest working man that ever walked this earth. He got his leg shot off in World War II fighting for this country and refused to wear a prosthetic. And he farmed all of his life on one leg. and he refused to buy an automatic transmission vehicle. He drove a standard transmission vehicle. So he had to work a clutch, a brake, and a gas pedal with one leg all of his life until the very end. And I want them to know that. I want them to see who I am. And then I want them to also know that, hey, we're going to have fun doing what we do. Um, I think this, and we're going to talk more about business here in just a minute, but I think this game the fun can be taken out of this game. I want these guys to come to work every day. Like when I ride by a Pee Wee football field and there's some 7 and 8 and 9 year olds out there running around, having a blast, loving what they're doing. I want to try to keep that part of the game that we have and the game that we play, even though there is money involved. There used to just be scholarship involved, but now there's a lot more at this level. The money that's involved in it. But I want to keep the fun in football. So, those are the kind of 3 F's that we work with in that meeting room, and I want them to see that. Then I want to explain to coach that we and I strive to be for them. The first thing I think in coaching is you got to be a great teacher. If you're not a great teacher, you're not going to be a very good coach, in my opinion. And we constantly, I was lucky. Both my mom and dad were teachers, and I learned to teach from them. And I think you gotta be a great teacher. I also want them to know that I'm gonna be tough and I'm gonna hold them accountable. I'm a big hugger, but I'm also, hey, we're gonna do things the right way, and there's expectations, and you're gonna live up to those expectations. And I want them to understand that. I want them to understand that we're going to be very detailed in how they're coached. Um, I want them to understand that we are going to be relentless preparers, and I explain to them. We are rule teachers, meaning there's going to be a rule that they have for everything on the football field. Now, there are adjustments to those rules, but I am a big black and white teacher. I want it black and white for them. And then the adjustments are the gray. But I want them to learn everything. There's a black and white hard rule for everything. Then we get into the gray. I think sometimes in my career, I have coached the gray too early, and that confuses the black and white. So I go through that with them. I explain to them that we're going to be committed to fundamental greatness. And then, number 7 to me is super, super important. I hope that I am more than just a football coach, that I also am a man coach and help them grow, and they help me grow as a man. I think iron sharpens iron. So I want to recruit young men that help me grow and help me become a better man, as I hopefully help them become better men through this process of football and this process of winning, that we grow each other and help each other become better people and better men through that process. And then this is the biggest thing to me that I've learned in my coaching career, number 8. I want to be a person that gives them a freedom to fail, a freedom to make a mistake, because I think truly that freedom allows them a freedom to be great. Early in my coaching career, I was so driven, honestly, out of selfishness to move on to the next job, to climb the ladder, for the way our O line had to look, or it had to be this, or we didn't make a mistake, or it bothered me personally that we didn't do something right. And I took that out on the young men. And in turn, they were so scared to make a mistake that they walked around on eggshells around me. And when I went to Canada, and I started coaching pro football for the couple years up in Canada, I noticed that it was not always the best athlete, the best football, or the best one-on-one player that ended up playing. And that always intrigued me. And I always started studying that. Well, why? This guy was the tallest, the longest, the most athletic, the best one-on-one player. But why was he not the best player? And the thing that I found is the best players were the ones that had the most freedom. And it was my job to give them freedom by giving them knowledge, but also giving them the freedom to make a mistake, that it was okay to make a mistake, that they didn't have to walk around on eggshells and be scared to death to make a mistake. In pro football, if you make a mistake, that may be your last rep that you take. And that's why a lot of guys lost freedom, because they were scared of getting cut. In high school football and college football, I think sometimes the coach takes the freedom away from the kid, because you take, or I take, that away by being so harsh on them at times when they do make mistakes. And that is one of the biggest growth areas in my career, is learning when, how to hold them accountable to what they're supposed to do, but also not tie them up where they can't actually have freedom. Because I think freedom breeds confidence, and then confidence gives them an opportunity to be great. So I really, really go in depth with our guys that first night, so that they can see a window inside of me, and who I am, but not only who I am, but how we're going to try to coach them. Then the next thing is, hey, how are we going to build this character, this culture that we say we're going to have? And we talk about a deck of cards. And that first night, we're a deck of cards, and we may be a straight, we may be an 8 high straight, but we are definitely not at that point a flush. And the first thing we're trying to become is a flush. And a flush is of the same suit. So we want to become, and you'll notice on here, the suit is the rock. That's who we're working to become as a unit, as a group in this room. Okay, so our suit is the rock. So we first want to go from a straight to a flush. Then we want to work to become the royal flush, which is the best hand. And it's ironic to me that a royal flush has 5 cards, and O-line group has 5 O-linemen. So we've kind of adopted that, we're working to become the royal flush, or the best hand in the game. And that hand's got to be united, for it to be the best hand, to be the same suit. And then we start talking about how we're going to do that. The first thing is TNT, and we're going to go through these here in just a minute. The second one is RU, which my South Louisiana people will know that that's a base and a foundation for cooking gumbos and jambalayas and good food. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. We want to be a nasty group. Now, I don't apologize about that. We want to be a group that we don't get personal foul penalties, but we want to almost get personal foul penalties on every single play. And then we want to be unselfish, and we want to make sure that we don't retaliate, hit back, punch back after the whistle. So we push, and I'll show you some film of that here in just a minute. We want to be violent, and I don't mean violent in any other way than it is my job and their job to put their bodies in position to generate and create power. And that power creates violence with their nasty attitude. So our fundamental thought process is we are trying to create violence through our fundamentals, so that they can use the weight room and all the hard work that they're fixing to put in January to create a violent, powerful football player. But we've got to find how we unlock that strength that they've gained in the weight room and that power that they've gained in the weight room, and fundamentally transition that to the field where they can become violent at contact. And then the fifth thing in building this hand, this royal flush, is we've always got to protect the quarterback. And that's what PTC is. Protect the quarterback. We call the quarterback the chief. So the C is the chief. We want to protect the chief or protect the quarterback. So, those are the things that we go into. Now, TNT is transformational, not transactional. Man, this is so big right now. And I really could stop, honestly, right here. But we want to be a football program, and we want to be a room that is transformational, not just transactional. There's a transactional piece to football more so than ever. Okay. But some of the things that we've learned is that, that transformational thing is going to do some things. I'm going to, transformational, just a definition, is a complete change in the appearance or character of something or someone. Transactional is of or relating to an attitude in which personal interaction revolves around cost and benefit. Basically, transactional is a business deal, and there is a part of football that is transactional. We want to get out of the transactional into the transformational. To me, and this is just kind of my wording right below it, transformational actions require love, care, and are relational. Anything that doesn't have love and care present when people are involved is missing the piece, to me, of the equation that allows the supernatural growth, supernatural development, and supernatural interaction. And those are the things that make you great. Those are the things that make a 5'9" guy that starts at left tackle in the MAC championship game. He plays like he's 6'5". He was a phenomenal athlete, but that transformational piece is what made him the player that he was. We called ourselves the Bandy Roosters last year because we were small, but we would get after people. But we did it because of the transformational love. And I talked to them, there's 3 words. There's love, there's respect, and there's care in those relationships, and there's trust. That's the 3rd word, trust. And those are the things that we have to build in that room to develop what we're going to develop. And then I talked to them kind of about, that last little part right there is my job in that room, kind of my mission statement as their O-line coach. Rue is relentless, unconditional effort. Rue is the base and foundation of cooking, especially in South Louisiana, in which you take equal parts flour and equal parts oil, and you basically fry the flour in the oil, and it creates the roux, which is the base to gumbos, etouffees, tons of cooking. But for us, the roux is relentless, unconditional effort. And what I would love to do, if nobody gets anything out of this podcast, I hear all the time coaches say, it's not my job to coach effort. I understand in theory what they're saying. I don't buy into that philosophy. I think it's our job to coach effort, and we do that. We do that very hard, and I'm going to kind of take you through this a little bit. But roux for us is 1, a strain to stay connected. 2, we leave the line of scrimmage with an expectation of work. And 3, we run with a noticeable change of speed if we break and run. So as they are graded, both in game film as well as practice film, we grade effort on every play. And that effort is going to set the depth chart, because their overall grade each day sets who the starting 5 are. And we weigh their effort in so heavy that they see that if they don't give effort, they're not going to have a chance to be a starter. I don't care how good of a player they are. I want to weigh in effort so heavy into their grade that they know that if they don't give effort, they're not going to be on the field. And I think that within itself is the biggest coaching, is when it's grading their practice reps every day. Now, I know that's hard for a lot of people, maybe that don't get an opportunity to film practice. But we will get up, Coach Roney, who is my assistant, and I will get up, and we will get up at 3:30 in the morning if we have to grade practice every day. And the biggest part of that is grading effort, because I do believe that last year we were absolutely the hardest playing offensive line. But I believe, going back to that rock thing, that if your offensive line plays with unbelievable effort, you're going to raise the water level of your entire football team by doing so, because your defensive line coach is going to get upset when there's a 300-pound offensive lineman outrunning him to the ball and passing him up to get to the ball. I also believe that your receiver coach is going to get upset when there's a 300-pound offensive lineman, you complete a ball downfield, he sees the ball thrown, he breaks loose and sprints, and he outruns another receiver or a running back to get to the ball. And I think those are championship habits, because you see us throw an extra block when we get downfield that may spring a guy for a first down, may spring him for a touchdown. We don't want to have balls on the ground, but say there's a ball on the ground. We are down there getting in position to get more hats around the football. And I think the more hats you can get around the football, the more opportunities you give to help yourself make those 4, 5, or 6 plays that we all know determine most games. Now, if a game's lopsided one way or the other, of course, there's more than 4 or 5 plays that determine the outcome of that game. But in those tight ball games, those 4 or 5 plays, and you don't ever know, as y'all all teach, you don't ever know when those 5 plays are going to come. So we're going to work with effort every play that is unconditional. That word is so important to me. I tell them, I don't care if your ankle's hurting. I don't care if you got poked in the eye. I don't care if rubber got thrown in your eyes from the turf. I don't care if you got kicked in the manhood. That word unconditional is the word. It is relentless, but it is unconditional. There is no excuse for not having it. And we grade effort on a +1, +2, or -1, -2 basis. So if a guy gives the proper effort, then he gets a +1. If he doesn't give the proper effort, he gets a -1. If he gives crazy effort, and we define that as, hey, you fall down, you scramble up, and you go find another guy to block. You get off the ground and you don't just run, but you run and you give crazy effort and go block. Or last year we had a guy that was reaching a 5 technique, reaching. He's still blocking him. He is straining to stay connected with him, but then the back breaks it. He sees it. He breaks loose and goes throw a block on a cutback that springs him for a touchdown. That to me is a +2 effort. That is above and beyond the call. So I reward them with a +2. A -1 is one that you're not giving enough effort, but honestly, it's not an effort. A loaf. You would look at our film and say, well, that guy's giving pretty good effort, but he's not straining to stay connected, or he's not leaving the line of scrimmage with an expectation of work. He may jog down toward the ball, but jogging's not good enough for us. You've got to leave with an expectation of going to find work, or there's not a noticeable change of speed in how he's working, okay, through the finish of the play. Well, then that's a -1. If he is loafing, meaning he doesn't get up off the ground, or he walks somewhere on the field while the play's going on, that is automatically a -2. And that's how we grade their effort. And I think that has been the biggest change. Now we don't block this. We don't block this great. We don't block this properly. All right. We do pop this run. There's a lot of conversation. Our center and our backside guard should shut down on the backer that's running through on the backside. So we should have been ID'd to that guy. So we ID'd this wrong. All right. And then our center's left shoulder was hurt. We would use a long arm technique, and that's not the point of this conversation right here. So I would teach a different technique than what he's using. He's trying to chicken wing it because his shoulder was hurt. The point I do want to make is I want you to watch this guy. I want you to watch this guy. I want you to watch this guy. And I want you to watch this guy. I want you to watch their effort. Now, my man down here has got him one down on the ground, and he's going to try to wear him out. Remember, we talked about that nastiness. He's being nasty, and that is effort to me. Okay. But I want you to watch how all of those guys, when this play breaks, I want you to watch the effort of the old lineman sprinting down the field. And we're outrunning defensive players. We're outrunning receivers. Now, we don't get down there and do anything to affect the play, but if the running back would have cut back across the grain, we would have been there to escort him potentially for a touchdown. But look at the effort that those guys are fighting, scratching, playing with third gorilla mentality to get down the field to help. And that better be the standard. That is just a +1. That is not a +2. That is who we are. That is relentless, unconditional effort. Okay. But as other coaches, hey, man, you're getting outworked by 300-pound offensive linemen. So we ended up raising the water level of other players on our football team that later on in the year, now they were beating us down the field. And that receiver could help us break a touchdown run. So we want to raise the water level of our football team. Going to talk about effort here. Also going to talk about nastiness because that was part of that thing that we talked about. And this was in the bowl game. And the first guy I want you to watch is the left guard. And we're running quarterback draw. And the reason I don't have any Charlotte clips, I'm going to only have Ohio clips, to be honest with you. I didn't put any of our spring clips in here. Our guys bought into it, lock, stock, and barrel, and our effort was phenomenal this spring. I'm not putting any Charlotte clips in here, to be honest with you, because Coach Faunus and the defensive staff and us and an offensive staff may have a wrinkle or two as we get ready for those first couple of ball games that somebody may watch or listen to this podcast. And I don't want to put any of that out there accidentally on film. So I'm showing. Plus, I want to brag on these guys too. Phenomenal. But watching the left guard right here, okay, we're running quarterback draw, and we are sliding. We are in a 4-man slide to 16, then to whoever the next guy is, okay? And we talk about the draw highway, so he is working up the draw highway. We want to stay within the draw highway and climb vertical to get to whoever we're working to. You see him working to number 6, which is the safety. Okay, there's a lot of effort here. There's a lot of strain to stay connected to people, okay, going on. But I want you to watch how he finishes with the nastiness. We're playing right on the edge through the whistle. Watch 66, who's the other guard, playing right on the edge through the whistle with nastiness and violence. But then I want you to watch what happens. The 6 rips his helmet off. 66 pulls off because he's right by the umpire. And the Bobcats do not get a penalty right here, but number 6 actually gets a 15-yard penalty. 57 does not retaliate. And then I want you to watch 51. here's that transformational thing we're talking about. Watch 51. I did tell you he was 5'9", did I not?
Mm-hmm.
He legitimately is 5'9.5". He may tell you he's 5'11", but he's lying. But watch him as he sees his teammate, that guy's walking off with his helmet, and he says, no, that's not going to happen on my watch. That tells me we're a royal flush. And we're playing as the Rock. Another play from this game, we're running inside zone to the right. First thing I want you to watch is number 77, the right tackle. Now, I wish our center would have gotten out a hair quicker. That backer got wider on him than he first initially anticipated. So I don't like the run through that we get right there. But watch the right tackle and the effort and the strain to stay connected. That is what we're talking about with effort and the strain to stay connected. We are letting him know, and then we play with something called the last shove mentality. Watch 57. That is that nastiness. We are just letting them know whose field this is. This is our field. That's the last shove mentality. We want to get the last shove on a defender all the time and let him know who the boss is. Okay, so that is a couple of examples of what we talk about with Rue. Okay, does that give you a good idea?
Yes.
Of what and I want them to walk out of that meeting room that first night with an unbelievable picture in their mind of what we're about to build and then how we're going to do it that first night. And I want to be an artist and I want to paint a picture for them so they can hear it, but they can also see it and see that picture and see the vision that first meeting with them. And then I go over the rules and here's our rules. We follow all team rules as an offensive line. Be on time. On time for us is early. To be on time is to be early. For us to be on time is to be early. We say that to be on time is to be late, and we say that to be late is to be forgotten. We also talk about, hey, if there's a special teams meeting, we are a special team. So anytime on your schedule you see a special teams meeting, that means the O-line is meeting. We talk about, hey, treatment, workouts, meetings, okay, what our expectations for those are. We also talk about classroom, study hall, tutoring real quickly in that first night, my expectations of that. One of the things that we do is, hey, if there's something going on, you call the trainer first. And I feel like that needs to be said to them that first night. That way, if they wake up tomorrow morning and their ankle's tight, well, they need to call that trainer the first thing if they've got a sickness going on. And a lot of kids come from places and they don't know who to reach out to or whatever. So anytime anything's going on with them health-wise, they are to reach out to the trainer first so the trainer then can set them. We talk about when we wear knee braces, when we wear ankle braces, what full pads mean to us. We talk about, hey, talking back. We work in a heated environment a lot. I'm not real big on if I tell you something, then I may be wrong, but right then and there on the field, what I say goes, and there's no use talking back about it. If there's something that needs to be discussed between that gentleman and I, then we will do that in the office, eyeball to eyeball, man to man. And I want them to know that my door, my cell phone, my house, my family is always open and available to them. I'm big on this. We want to leave places better than what we found them. That means the meeting room. That also means anywhere we go, we get up and leave a table from where we're sitting down to have a meal. We need to pick that table up, and that's a big thing. And then do what's right. So that's kind of the rules that we go over that first night, just so I can get us started. And then we go into our meeting just kind of protocol, how you're going to hey, what do you feel about cell phones? Everybody's got a little different, mindset on cell phones and that in the meetings. Hey, what do you bring to meetings? How are you dressed in meetings? And we go through that. Everybody's different. We come dressed for walkthroughs to every meeting. So I have them come dressed. That way we don't have to run downstairs, find shoes, find this, find that. I don't want them in a meeting in blue jeans because I may want to run them out and take them out for a 10-minute walkthrough real quick. If the meeting feels like it's dragging a little bit and I need them to get up on their feet, I want them to be in walkthrough attire when they come to the meeting. We have iPads, so I don't have an iPad rule. They should have their iPads with them at their meetings. Everybody's a little bit different in how they do that, so whatever fits you. But that's kind of what we go over on that first night. Any any questions that you have, Nick, or anything that I need to go deeper into?
No, I don't think so. I think you kind of hit on it. I do really like the leaving better than found it because I think I've said that every year in every place we go to, and that's been one as I've cleaned up our facility and stuff. That's one thing I've talked about. I've been a big believer of you can't ask for nicer stuff if you don't take care of the stuff you currently have, and kind of like you point, if you go somewhere, it's kind of just being a respect thing. Like I harken back to when our entire team got in trouble my sophomore year of high school because two of my teammates decided to wear their jerseys into a Wendy's and leave a mess, and our head coach was not very happy. Um, as to be expected, and as I understand, uh, the next week of practice sucked. But um, I think that's like a golden rule in general. And no, I think that pretty much. I don't have any questions off the top of my head as I'm sitting here watching it, Coach.
Well, the big thing to me in that first meeting is paint a picture so that they can sink their teeth into it of what you're about to build or what you see yourself building, and do whatever it takes, film wise, video wise, slides, PowerPoint slides, internet, YouTube videos, do whatever it takes to set that on the first night. One of the big things for us, their summer drill work. I was very, very on top of them early about doing their summer drill work because it's voluntary. They do it on their own, right? And what I have found in the summer, if you get that started for us and the NCAA rules that we have, I can't be with them because that's part of time and we only have so many hours. So if I don't get them started coming into a new football program, if I don't get them started with the expectation of that immediately, what ends up happening when guys finish for their workout for the day with Coach Miller, they get in their car and go home, or they don't realize that guys are going out and doing drill work together. So setting that expectation of that early, having that planned out and organized for them early. Okay, I don't do that in January because we don't have drill work in January, right? But their first meeting back when they came back in June, that was one of the big topics of that is, hey, because I know this, if it would have taken me 2 weeks to get that organized, we would have lost the whole first half of the summer because they would have not been doing it together. They would have not been growing together. They would have not been getting better together because they're their own coaches a lot of times when they're doing drill work because I can't be with them. And so getting that set and started right away because you got guys coming in from all different places. Now with the transfer portal, you got a bunch of guys. So it's done differently at different places. So getting that set that first night, whatever that is, and then thinking through that so that you're organized and planned That way you eliminate as many questions as possible. So there's less room for things getting scattered early
Yeah.
is the big thing to me.
Okay. That's perfect. Coach, you got anything else?
Well, I mean, I got 1,000 things, but I thought, man, you want to start talking? You want to start talking inside zone? What you
I
want
mean,
to do?
we can, but I mean, I don't think my viewers have 18 hours of I know how you get with inside zone.
Yeah.
So anybody that's listening, if you do want to learn inside zone, A, you can reach out to Coach. B, you can check out all of his stuff on CoachTube. He's got plethora of stuff on Pass Pro, Inside Zone, and other stuff on there. Give Coach a follow on all the social media platforms he's on, X and whatever else there is. Check out Charlotte football this fall. Like I said, Coach Albin, Coach Rudolph, and the rest of the staff will do great things this year. I have no doubt, knowing them as long as I have for the past 6+ years, depending on which one we're talking about. Um, like, share, subscribe, check our sponsor, Coachpad, and all that jazz. And otherwise, that's another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast.